Welcome to Hot Spring County AWIN training. Hopefully this is going to answer a lot of questions and kind of jumpstart some of our training for the hands-on sections. Topics we're going to cover today: what is AWIN, some basic radio terminology, some radio etiquette, our communications SOPs and SOGs, which are new, and then we'll have some contact information there at the end. So what is AWIN? AWIN is a statewide trunking system. These are some of the sites. This is the sites that are around and come into Hot Spring County. We'll go in-depthly into this in a moment. So AWIN is a statewide multi-site digital 7,800 megahertz and now 900 trunk communication system using a P25 standard. It does provide a statewide operations within the coverage area of the system for public service entities. It provides reliable statewide means of communication. It's got over 100 tower sites and over 27,000 authorized radios on the system. It is monitored by technicians 24/7, 365 to ensure it is available. So we said P25. What is P25? It is a standard for the manufacturing of interoperable digital two-way communications. All P25 equipment must demonstrate compliance with the standard, meet the needs of public safety, and be interoperable with other P25 equipment. So the top right-hand corner is your Kenwood radios, the VP6000s that each of the fire departments will get 5 of. The bottom right-hand corner is an Apex 1000 Motorola that Garland County uses. These two radios are two different vendors, and they will both talk to each other all day long on the system. There's also Tate radios, Harris radios, and a few others that are allowed on the system. If it's a P25 standard and it meets the national standards and has been tested, it is allowed on AWIN. So some of the terminology we're going to go over: radio, it's pretty obvious; an ID, our aliases, towers, coverage area, talk group, mutual aid or MAC channels, Talkgroup dragging, the push to talk, and then wide area or site trunking. Radio is a device assigned by your department used for emergency communications. It can be a handheld or portables on the right-hand side. It can be a mobile, is on the bottom left, or a base station console is in the center there. It just depends on what it is and where it's mounted. Most of the time, the base stations and the mobiles are the same thing. Base station has a built-in power supply. It's the only difference. So each radio has a unique ID. It's called the radio ID, or you'll hear us call it an AWIN ID. It's 7 to 8 digits that allows your radio to be on the AWIN system. These are approved, applied, and assigned by AWIN operations. Each radio has to have a unique ID. Duplicates are not allowed, and they can severely hurt communications. Used to be a problem with older radios, people trying to duplicate them so they could hear what was going on, and it can actually hurt communications very detrimentally. So our new IDs are going to look like this. It's going to be 15503 and then 3 digits, anywhere from 000 all the way up to around 390 right now. So we've got about 390 radios on the system, new radios on the system. This does not include our old radios. Some of the older radios that are out there have a different numbering scheme. On the number, you will not need to know this unless there's a problem and we need to contact AWIN, but this will be on the inventory sheet that each department receives, along with the serial number and a space for you to mark down who and what it's assigned to. All right, radio alias. This is what you want your radio to show when you make a call. So some of the examples, we've limited by character numbers, but the HOTS, SWFD, E2M. So HOTS is Hot Spring County. All of ours will start with HOTS. SWFD, Southwest Fire Department, pretty simple. E2M is engine 2, and then the little letter at the end is mobile, M for mobile. So Bismarck and Bonnerdale are a little special. They couldn't use 4 letters. So HOTS BISMFD for Bismarck Fire Department. 12 portable, which means it is portable number 12 assigned to Bismarck Fire Department. We don't know who has that radio, but the fire chief for that department should be able to tell us very quickly who has that radio if there's an issue. Sheriff's Department's the same thing. Hot Spring County, SO is Sheriff's Department. That's a unique identifier statewide that all the counties use to identify the Sheriff's Department. And then 101P would be Unit 101 portable. In this case, that's a Sheriff's radio. Currently, these are only visible to ADEM, state police, and agencies that have a direct link console. Garland County, Grant County, not Hot Spring County Dispatch. When we update these with AWIN, it updates them automatically at those entities. For us, we will have to maintain it separately so that it shows up in our dispatch center. And that is why we're not tracking individual portables for the fire departments, just because we change personnel and move radios around so much. Biggest thing is if I call the Southwest Fire Chief and say portable number 10 has been going into emergency, tell me who that is. They need to know who that is pretty quickly to be able to access that information. We will have the mobiles ID'd because we don't figure those are going to change much, such as the top one that says Engine 2 Mobile for Southwest. They're probably not going to change that out very much, so it's not going to be a big issue when they do. Tower. So the physical location where the signal is received and broadcast from. Each AWIN tower has 3 identifiers. There's a name, such as Jack Mountain, Magnet, Hot Springs, Grant West. This is what's going to show up on your radio when you hit the site search button. A site identifier like AO2, HO3, or K10, these are only used by state police maintenance. State police maintenance is who cares for the tower sites as far as cutting grass, maintaining generators, things like that. And then an actual tower number. This is what's going to show up on a pager to let you know what sites you're connected to. And such as Magnets, site 23, Jack Mountain is site 9. These will have a 2- in front of them for everything basically on the south side of the state, and a 1- for everything on the top side of the state. But your pager will show that 23 or that 9. So this is our area. These stars are all the sites within this view, and we'll go in depthly into this momentarily in the deal. So Jack Mountain is the main site for Hot Spring County. It's the major site for Hot Spring County. It's what most everyone is going to connect to for the most part, especially across the central and central east areas of the county. It is on top of Jack Mountain Road. It's the highest point you can go in Hot Spring County. Magnet, or sometimes referred to as Magnet Lookout, is in Magnet Cove. It covers most of Malvern, Rockport, Magnet, Saline County on into Garland County. Over here, it just depends on where you're at. You could hit Jack, you could hit Magnet, either one. Left to right, we go to High Peak, which is in Montgomery County. I'm sorry, that's Pike County. Some of your Bonnerdale radios will hit High Peak. Piercy, which you can also hit Bonnerdale. The Hot Springs or Blowout is what it'll say on the radio, are 2 separate simulcast systems. Basically, a simulcast system in a nutshell is multiple sites. Garland County's got 3, which comes under Blowout. Hot Springs will have 4, but it's all those sites together are linked to operate as one. So you will see either Hot Springs or Blowout. and they are in this circle, actually extending into the rest of the county, but they're not marked because we don't know the exact tower sites when this was done. Benton, which is actually at Benton 911 Center, there's a tower, big AWIN tower there. You may hit that from Glen Rose, or you may hit Grant West. o.Radios will hit Grant West. They'll also hit a Dallas County site. And then the proposed DeGray site will go around this area, and that will help cover most of the lower parts of Newton Roach, Bismarck, and Point Cedar area. This is slated to happen this year, but this is all run by state, so state government at its best. So we talk about coverage areas. The coverage area is the area the tower is capable of broadcasting to and receiving from. Pretty simple. This can be reduced because of issues at the site, outages such as preventative maintenance, a bad antenna on the radio, a radio that is placed or being used in a bad location, and then terrain itself. Terrain is what causes most of our issues on the west end of the county. This is one official coverage map from Motorola for AWIN. They say that inside of this green area, they will be able to, you'll basically be able to get AWIN on a mobile, 99% coverage. So this is one site, Jack Mountain. This does not include Magnet, High Peak, Grant West, anything else that comes into the county. This is just that one site. So don't take this as a coverage for AWIN in Hot Spring County map. This is the one site which covers probably 80% of the county, which is why I stated that Jack would be the most common site that you will connect to. So talk groups, usually, and they're incorrectly called a channel. You'll hear me call them a channel now. With a trunk system, a talk group works kind of like Turbo does that a lot of the county fire departments have had, and the sheriff's department and PD, in that you can have multiple talk groups on a channel. Basically, when you click a radio around to a different channel, it's actually going to be a talk group, and it allows you to talk to everybody else that's on that same group or on that same talk group. Not real particular as to whether you call it a channel or a talk group. You'll hear me call it both probably. And this is our template that's in every radio, and this will be covered in-depthly in the communications SOP, SOG section in a little bit. But real quick, if you'll notice, the zone 1 out of 10 is an either or. So if it's a fire department radio, you will have this as your zone 1. It is a law enforcement or sheriff's department radio, you will have this as your zone 1. 2 through 10 will be the exact same no matter which radio it is, law or fire. These were designed where you spend 90% of your time in your main zone. All right, mutual aid channel, or MAC. Some people call it a MAC channel, which is kind of redundant, but it is a talk group that is statewide for events, emergencies. They will assign them for training. It is assigned through ADEM. We cannot use these without permission from someone, from ADEM, somewhere. Our dispatch center will request any needed MAC channels so that they can track them and attach them to an incident. If you require a MAC channel, let dispatch know. We'll go over in later trainings when and why. The biggest thing right now is MAC channels will be for when multiple counties are going to be involved in something. If we have to call in a bomb squad out of Little Rock, if we have to call in a major search and rescue operations with USAR, all that will use MAC channels. Every radio on AWIN has access to these MAC channels via the state user group template. They should all be zone 3 in all radios. AWIN was set up to require MAC channels in Zone 3. Not all of them have ended up that way, especially some of the older ones. But it should be to where you say go to Zone 3 and that's all your MAC channels. For ours, it is in Zone 3. When we talk about alternatives to MAC channels, these are simplex, radio to radio, or like the old TAC or talk around channels, radio to radio. They can be used for incident operations, for traffic control, anything that is communicated on scene units only. Dispatch doesn't have a need or desire to hear it or need to monitor it. No units coming in need to talk on it, just the units on scene. Most commonly, this will be for traffic control. 7TAC 71D is in the first zone for all radios, law and fire. So if we needed to talk on scene with law and fire together, we would use that one. Or if we needed to talk individually, that's fine. And then each discipline has its own individual simplex. Law has a 7-law 62D, and fire has a 7-fire 63D. These are nationwide interoperable channels. If FEMA comes in, the radios they bring in should have these channels in, and they should be able to talk on them. There's 2 zones of TAC channels. We use the D for direct. We'll go into that later. 7 TACs are digital, 8 TACs are conventional. 7 TACs are like Moto Turbo, where it's digital. 8 TACs are conventional, like Countywide, where you will hear static. Got to end in a D in order for it to work for our radios, radio to radio. Talkgroup Dragging. This is a big one. This is a big no-no with AWIN. Dragging is when a talkgroup is used across the radio system that is not part of the incident or area they're listening to. Any kind of trunk system, which AWIN is, cannot tell when a radio is just listening. It assumes every radio that is connected on that talkgroup needs to hear everything that goes on. Just listening will use up resources at each tower it crosses to get the message to you. The most common way this is used is if you go to Little Rock or Jacksonville and you keep your radio on Sheriff's Department or HSC Fire Dispatch. If you leave the county and go more than one county over, you should change to MAC call because that's a statewide talk group that's everywhere. And then it won't drag anything, it won't type any resources. The most common way this is used or performed is when there's an incident, such as the Valonia tornadoes, and everybody hears that MAC 3 is tornado operations in Valonia, and everybody in the state turns to MAC 3 to listen, to see what's going on, because we're all nosy, we want to hear, and it ties up multitudes of resources. AWIN said when that particular incident occurred, that upwards of 60% of the radios that were on that talk group were south of I-40, which means they had no need to be on that talk group. It will use up resources. It will tie up the system. It will make people that are in other areas, such as yours, get busy signals just because you're listening. So, push to talk, PTT. 2 meanings. Most commonly, it is the big physical button on the side of the radio that allows you to talk to others. All right. Push the button, hear the beep, talk. It is also used to determine usage by AWIN, how many times it is used and how long. You may hear somebody say something like XYZ site averages 2,500 PTTs per day that average 45 seconds each. That's a lot. But that means that 2,500 times a day, somebody keys up on that site in any number of any of the talk groups available in the system, and there are thousands, and they average 45 seconds apiece. So you may hear statistics like that or see them in reports from AWIN. Wide area or site trunking. So wide area trunking means your AWIN tower is able to allow your radio to talk to other radios in the state that are not on that same tower. This is what a trunking system does in wide area. You can talk to people in Little Rock, you can talk to people in Fayetteville, whatever. If you get on Mac call, you can talk to Little Rock. Somebody from Jonesboro can do the same. Everybody hears everybody. This is normal operations. Site trunking, the radio says site trunking, and the bottom left-hand corner shows you what it looks like. There wasn't enough room there apparently for the U. Or it'll say, some radios will say out of wide area, some of the older Motorola's. This means your radio will only talk to radios that are in the same tower site as you. So if you're on Jack and you go into site trunking, you can only talk to radios that are connected to that site. We are working on procedures in dispatch that monitor that, and then we'll be able to tell so that we can page departments out based on the radio tower in their area if it's in site trunking. Most likely only one site will be in site trunking. Usually when that happens, your radio will try to find one that is in wide area trunking to connect to the core. And it may be one you're not used to doing. All right, radio etiquette. You cannot speak and listen at the same time. Do not hold down the push to talk unless you're planning to talk. Plan ahead what you're going to talk. If you do key up, push the talk button, and you get a bonk, you get a busy signal. If you're needing to talk, hold down that push to talk. When it clears and the system is available, you will get the permit to talk tone, which is the chirp, letting you know you can talk. That keeps your place in line. Every time you push that button, if you get a bonk, every time you're starting over in the line. You're going back to the back of the line. If you hold it down, once the site clears, you're the one that gets priority. You take over. Do not interrupt anybody. The only exception, as always, is emergencies. Emergencies override everything. Do not respond if you're not sure the call is for you. So if you heard something, you thought they may have been talking to you, wait, let them repeat it, and then answer them. Don't answer unless you know for sure it's for you. Never ever transmit sensitive, confidential, financial, or personal information via AWIN. This should be for any radio system. Unless it is secure, but if you don't know, assume that it is unsecure. I can tell you there are no secure or encrypted talk groups in our radios. Nothing is secured, nothing is encrypted. There's very few in the state. Upper North Little Rock PD, State Police only has one talk group that's encrypted, and it's for their SWAT team. So you should perform your radio checks to ensure your radio is in good working condition. Do these about once a month. Basically make one call, last for 5 to 8 seconds. Doesn't have to be to dispatch. It can be on any of the talk groups, to anybody on the system, at your department, at another department, whatever. You can do these on an incident channel, during the drill night, just to test the radios. And we'll discuss that later, is which one to use. Try to think before you speak. Do not say inappropriate things. You do not know who is listening or recording what is being said. If you wouldn't put this on the front page of the paper, do not say it on the radio. There are people out there listening. There are people out there recording. All of the channels that we have, the talk groups, Sheriff's Department, Fire Dispatch, and the incident channels are all recorded at Hot Spring County 911. Other talk groups are recorded at different agencies, but just understand there's a pretty good chance what you're saying is being recorded. At the very least, it's going to be heard by others. There are scanners out there that will hear AWIN, so just be aware. Try to speak clearly. Stay away from abbreviations unless they're industry standards. This is especially when communicating with dispatch. If you're communicating with another firefighter and you want to use an industry standard somebody grabbed me the tick, that's fine. That's understood. If it's law enforcement officers talking amongst each other and they want to use their industry standard abbreviations, that's fine. But with dispatch, or especially with somebody that's coming in from outside of our area, try to stay away from those abbreviations. 4 golden rules of radio communications. Be clear, clarity, be simple, be quick, and be secure. Or, as an old bat chief used to tell me, be brief, be brilliant, and then be quiet. And that is the AWIN training section. Next, we have the interoperable communications SOPs and SOGs for Hot Spring County. These are new procedures and guidelines that we put in place to help the way that AWIN is going to operate in Hot Spring County. So this is a document, and this will be a separate document that everyone has access to when it's released at the end. And you can read it. Everything that's in here will be in there. Maybe a little bit more stuff added in. It will have some sections in there for dispatch that don't apply to responders, but it is what they're going to have to abide by as far as their procedures. So it's a document that provides guidance to all Hot Spring County first responders in the general use of department communications equipment. Attentiveness to radio and radio traffic is a key component to efficient and professional communications, especially during emergency operations. Okay. Efficient and professional communications. No yelling, no screaming. Speak at a normal voice and a normal tone at a normal speed. This goes for everyone. I'm just as guilty as the next person. But we've got to calm down to get our point across so that everybody understands what you're trying to say. Listen for other radio traffic. Think about what you want to say before you key up to speak. Know what you're going to say. Say it in your head real quick, and then get ready to key up. Once you hit the button, you will hear a push-to-talk tone that allows you to speak. When you hear that tone, then you can continue on. Just like a current turbo system does, it's going to give you a little beep or a chirp. Proper FCC and AWIN radio protocols, as well as radio discipline and professionalism, will be adhered to at all times. This is what I jumped the gun a while ago. This is about the yelling and screaming. This is the FCC rules. No foul language, no personal information, no sensitive information, things like that. NIM standards, so the National Incident Management System, which everyone very well should be aware of, must be followed on all interoperable talk groups, including plain language requirement. Okay. Now, that means no 10 codes, no unapproved acronyms, as per the requirement of NIMS. Now, law enforcement has received an exemption as long as they remain on their talk group. Anything else requires plain language. So if state police is on their talk group, they can use their 10 codes and 1050s and everything else. Sheriff's department's on their talk group, they can use all their 10 codes, 1027s, 1028s, whatever they want to use, 1097, whatever they want to use. But as soon as they get on a common talk group that is interoperable, which all of our fire incident channels are, all of the MAC channels are, and most every talk group on AWIN that is not a department specific talk group is an interoperable talk group. If you got that, which means other people are going to be on it, you cannot use those codes. So on the fire side, we figured out it's just better if we don't use them at all, because then we won't use them in the event of a large scale emergency. All right, for non-emergency communications. So Incident Talk Group 5, and there are 5. So the last one is going to be our preferred talk group for short-term non-emergent communications within or between departments, personnel, If it is going to be used for more than 5 minutes, let dispatch know and they can log it off, or they may send you to another one that's available. If you've got to contact dispatch, you've got to switch back to Hot Spring County Fire Dispatch. If there are multiple events going on, Central can assign an unused talk group, or you can request a MAC channel if none are available. If you're trying to do some sort of training or things like that. What this means is incident 5 is to talk amongst yourselves. If you don't have an incident channel assigned to you, you can use incident 5. You can holler at whoever and talk to them. It's not going to be monitored by dispatch unless there's an active incident going on. And if you hear other traffic, or if you get on there and dispatch says, whomever this incident talk group is assigned to an incident, then you'll have to get off of it. Otherwise, this is kind of the talk group to go to that you can do your radio checks on that we talked about during your drill nights and things like that. If you get an incident that does not require a talk group, such as medicals, things like that, you can use this one to communicate back and forth en route to keep that traffic off of the HSC Fire Dispatch talk group so other departments can be paged. If you're doing training, you can request from dispatch a incident talk group for training activities, where a direct tactical channel such as the 7 TAC or the 7 Fire would not work. If there's multiple departments, you're covering a large area, things like that. They'll be assigned by dispatch if available, so they can be logged out to the requesting department. When you request them, they're going to want another department, your name or title, and how long you think you're going to need it. So, preferably we're going to use TAC channels for this, but if not, feel free to ask for a training talk group. Whatever one's not available, or whatever one is available, they'll assign to you. Don't automatically assume, since you didn't hear anybody on incident 4, that you can just get on there and start using it. It's got to be assigned, because it's got to be tracked by dispatch, except for the incident 5 talk group for the short-term non-emergent communications. On emergency communications, an individual outside county talk groups shall not be used when responding to, shall only be used when responding to or coordinating with a department from that county. So if we're going into Garland County to Morningstar's area, we will use their talk group. If we're going into Grant County, they use incident talk groups like we do. When we know which one they're assigned to, we will use that incident talk group. Saline County's the same way. They have theirs broken up. They'll tell you that we're going to be on Fire 6, and that's the talk group we'll go to. These shall not be used for non-emergent traffic if you happen to be passing through the county, such as you see a reckless driver, you see an accident, things like that. Call the county's non-emergent sheriff's department phone number, which you can Google and find, or call 911 if you feel it's an emergency. They need to talk to you. Okay. For Hot Spring County, those talk groups are not to be used for notifying Hot Spring County dispatch of reckless drivers, vehicle accidents, things like that. Dial 911 or use the non-emergency number, which is down there in red. Okay. Dispatch is going to ask you questions. We do not call in incidents over the radio unless it is a dire emergency. The dispatcher is going to have to ask questions so they can get more help and the appropriate help to you. If you just get on the radio and say, there's a wreck at Main and Page, dispatch has no clue what you need. Do you need police, fire, EMS, all the above? What? They have questions they ask callers, they need to ask you. So do everyone a favor, call the non-emergent number. 337-0235 is one of them. If you know any of the other ones, call them. It's about 6 lines that go into dispatch, so should be able to get a hold of somebody. All right, on the west end, we're going to have 2 west end repeaters to be installed. They will be patched to 2 AWIN Talkgroups. So the HSC FIRE West will be attached to Fire Dispatch, and the HSC o.West will be attached to Hot Spring County SO Dispatch. These are installed to provide coverage to AWIN dead spots in the Point Cedar area, that general area. These will be on top of Bismarck Mountain, but they'll be directed to help cover Point Cedar. Point Cedar is the only area in our county that we have severe deficiencies in AWIN coverage. The proposed DeGray site should help or alleviate most of these issues, but we won't know for sure until the site is up and running. So each of these is for the use of Hot Spring County first responders or anyone that's coming into the county to assist. The ones on the west, the departments that come into our county on the west end will have these in their radios if they wanted them, and be able to use them to talk to us. They should only be utilized with portable radios when responding to calls in or around Point Cedar, where that functionality is limited. Mobiles are about 99% functional in the county, which negates the use of mobiles on either of these unless they're absolutely necessary. If you're on a radio that is on HSC Fire Dispatch and someone in Point Cedar is on HSC Fire West, you should hear each other. So there is no need to go to that west end repeater unless you're in the west end area that has the bad coverage. If you're en route to it, you can stay on the regular talk group, Fire Dispatch, and talk to everyone. Same thing on the Sheriff's Department side. Deputies on the east end can talk to a deputy in Point Cedar that is on the west repeater via the normal talk group. These are going to be tested weekly as part of our pager test procedures. And we will have a procedure in place where Sheriff's Department deputies that utilize the west will notify dispatch when they get out of their vehicle and they go to west on their portable. This is an accountability deal because of law enforcement, and we need to track them much better because they're individuals by themselves, not groups responding to a single incident. All right, so the zones. This is our template. Zone 1 is HSC Law, Hot Spring County Law. This is for the Sheriff's Department. This is in all Sheriff's Department radios. This is Zone 1 in the Sheriff's Department radios. So first off, we have HSC SO, Dispatch, and the West End. So Dispatch is the primary channel that's monitored 24/7 by Dispatch. And then the West End it'll actually say HSC SO West. And it's the West End repeater in Point Cedar that is connected to the main Sheriff's Department Dispatch channel. We have K-Law, which is an interoperability for all of Troop K. This is monitored by Troop K Dispatch in Hot Springs. It is also in the main zone of all Troop K troopers in their portables and their mobiles, so they can easily go to this talk group if we need to communicate with them. If they're responding to an incident, they can flip their handheld around to K-Law. Their dispatch can advise us that they're monitoring it, and then deputies here can talk directly to the troopers on that channel. We are not allowed to have K-Dispatch, which is their dispatch channel, in any radio that we own. It's not allowed. So this is the closest thing we have to be able to interoperate with them without them reprogramming every radio in the troop. So we have Rockport PD, who's been on AWIN for a few years, a good many years now. This is for their operations, or if Sheriff's Department is going to assist them, this is for them. This is not for anybody else. It's not in the fire radios. It's only in law enforcement radios, and it's to communicate between the two. Rockport PD will have our Sheriff's Department and our fire talk groups in there so they can talk to those entities if need be. 7 Law 61D is radio to radio. This is law enforcement only. This is talk around. Used to be the old state law or federal law. Just something talk between radios to BS, things like that. We can use it for operations if need be, but this is only in the law enforcement radios. We have LifeNet EMS, which covers EMS on the east end of the county. This is to be monitored only, not to talk on. They talk on it enough. They dispatch all of the Village, Hot Springs, and Malvern, Hot Spring County units, all on this one talk group. This is one of those you probably don't want to scan because it's never going to stop talking. So the HSC Fire Dispatch, monitor 24/7. This is what fire departments will be paged on. This is also in the first group for law enforcement, so they can go to it or any of these incident channels. So we have 7TAC 71D, which is another radio to radio, but it is in all radios. It is actually in all AWIN radios, but it is in the main zone for all fire and all law enforcement radios in Hot Spring County. So if we have an incident that we need to talk radio to radio, get traffic off of AWIN, and we need law enforcement involved, we need to use 7TAC 71D. Garland SO, Saline County SO are both to those counties for their sheriff's departments. If something happens and Hot Spring County SO needs to interface with those two departments, they can use those two channels. And then the HSC Multi, which is the old HSC DIS channel, the AWIN channel we've had since AWIN initiated. Some agencies may still have this as the only AWIN talk group for us, so we may have to go to this to talk to them. Currently, that would be like state parks, forestry, things like that, until they program their radios if they wish to. They've all been given permission to put our channels in their radio. So AWIN talk groups are different. You can't just put one in your radio for the heck of it. You have to have permission. Nobody can use our talk groups that we've made, the Sheriff's Department, Fire, and the incident channels, without the signature of the OEM coordinator and the county judge. So it requires those two signatures to be able to use it. So each of these that's in here, that's Rockport PD and Garland County, Saline County, and then in the fire side, some of the other counties, we've gotten permission from each of those counties. I had to get permission slips from to be able to use those in our radios. So, all right, Zone 1 for fire. We've got fire dispatch, basically countywide for AWIN pretty much. All Hot Spring County based departments, all 11 of us, will be toned and dispatched on this channel, 11 or 12. I run out of, I keep counting wrong all the time. There is a video with all the tones, the new tones that'll be on AWIN. They'll all be dual tones, so AB, and there will be a long tone to page out everybody at one time if need be. Tone alert is just that. In the radio training, show you how to use it, but this turns the radio into a pager. So we have our incident channels. These will be assigned by Hot Spring County Dispatch and used for incidents that require a large response or more than one department response. All your fire calls are going to automatically get an incident channel. Some of your RECs, things like that require multiple deals or even long-term scenarios. Dispatch doesn't automatically assign one because it's not in procedures. You can request one, and as long as one's available, they can assign you one for whichever incident you would like. 7 Fire and the 7 TAC. 7 Fire is radio to radio, but it is only in the fire radios. Law enforcement does not have access to that channel. So if we require law enforcement, we have to use 7 TAC 71 radio to radio because it is in there. There's also, as well as all AWIN radios in the other zone we'll see in a minute. Fire West, which is the point cedar area repeater that is also tied to the fire dispatch channel. LifeNet, monitor only. EMS TAC 1 is a LifeNet TAC channel that is in there to be possibly used at a later date. We're still working out the procedures in order to give LifeNet patient updates on medical calls. We're not sure which talk group we're going to use. They will have all of ours in there, as well as Baptist will. So it may be them coming to our channel to get it, but we're not sure yet. 70 West, Lake Hamilton, and Morningstar are all three of the Garland County departments. They have individual talk groups. So we have individual talk groups in there for them. If we're responding to a call in 70 West, Lake Hamilton, and Morningstar, we will use that talk group. And then the old HSC dispatch channel, which is now HSC Multi. This is also monitored 24/7 by dispatch, and this will be in other agencies' radios until they get their radios reprogrammed. Zone 2. So from here on out, it's the same whether you have a law radio or a fire radio. Zone 2, we have Saline Fire 1 and Saline Fire 6. So they have 8 channels in Saline County. They've designated their channel 1 as their main talk group for Saline Fire Dispatch, basically kind of a countywide for Saline County. Fire 6 is assigned to Haskell, Turtle Creek, and Traskwood, which are the departments that border us on the north that we would be using. So we have both of those channels in there. Sorry, wrong button. We have Grant County. So Grant County uses the same similar scenario to what we have. They have a main dispatch channel, and they have 4 incident channels. Now, Grant County and Saline County are still paged on VHF, like our old countywide, and they answer and talk on AWIN, because when they started AWIN, paging over AWIN was not an option. It just became available about 6 to 7 years ago. Clark County, Dallas County, and Montgomery County. Sorry if you see that. These are individual talk groups for their counties. These 3 counties do not have full-time AWIN, so they only have one channel, one talk group for the entire county. It may or may not be used by Sheriff's Department or anything like that. It is unsure. So if we need to communicate with that county for some reason, that county's dispatch center, we can use this deal. Same thing, 70 West, Lake Hamilton, Morningstar. These are here because there is a chance Sheriff's Department may need them. Here's the Sheriff's Department channel. This is for monitoring only by the fire side. Another TAC channel for EMS if needed, and then our multi-channel. We have 3 and 4. So we have MAC call. MAC call is used to speak to ADEM. OEM coordinators, central dispatch, things like that can request MAC channels via MAC call. They prefer you to call via phone. You can also monitor MAC call in your scan list and hear the National Weather Service out of Little Rock give their updates for their warnings during a bad scenario. 1 through 15, they'll assign a channel. They may say, you're assigned MAC 5. Everybody gets told what they're on. You change to that channel. So pretty quick and easy. Zone 4, we have the old HSC Multi. We have 2 ADEM channels for emergency management to contact ADEM. We have each area of ADEM that we're divided into has 5 talk groups. So we have Central, Northwest, and Zone 5 we have Southwest, which is what Hot Spring County is. Sometimes Shreveport weather monitors Southwest 1, since most of the counties, except for about 3, including us, are monitored by Shreveport weather. We're in Little Rock weather, but most of them are in Shreveport. These are monitored or tracked by ADEM and if we need to use one of them, we can ask permission and they'll allow us to use them. So, same thing for southeast, northeast. These are your law channels for each troop. K-Law is monitored by Troop K Dispatch for law enforcement use. They have prisoner and sheriff's department network talk groups also. We have fire, same thing as the law. This is no assignment required. It's for fire agencies to use, so for each troop. Same thing with EMS, but this is emergency management service, not emergency medical service. So these are all for emergency management use. They are assigned by ADEM. In the event we overflow and run out of MAC channels on a statewide basis, these will be used. Otherwise, I've never seen them used. 9 and 10. All right. We only use the channels listed here that have a D after them for direct. Otherwise, they're not going to work. Those are the radio to radio or the old talk around. So in the 700 megahertz, we have 7call70D. That is the calling frequency. Do not use that one. That is designed to radio and alert someone and try to get them to go to another channel. And these are all in every radio nationwide that has all inoperable channels, which is supposed to have to be able to respond with FEMA. We have the D channels, which we can use any of these, radio to radio, on the fire ground, on the incident area, whatever we want. These are all digital P25 channels. These will not have static. It's either there or it's not. Crystal clear. On zone 10, we have the 800 channels. These are conventional. You will hear static, just like on countywide. So 8call90, same thing. Don't use it. It's for basically hailing people to go to another channel. But we can use any of these four. 8TAC 91, 2, 3, or 94. Same as the 7TACs, but these are going to be conventional. These will probably reach a little further because you'll have some static and still be able to hear somebody, but it's going to have that static. So, all right. And we have a severe weather mass incident communications plan. So part of the communications SOPs, SOGs, is this plan can be implemented in the event of a large-scale weather event or other mass incident that affects a large area of Hot Spring County. It covers multiple jurisdictions. Major incident, tornado comes through, severe weather comes through that will result in multiple trees down, not just a storm passed through and knocked over a couple of trees. Upon activation by either emergency management or 911 administration, a severe weather / mass incident notification will be sent as an incident to notify all firefighters in Hot Spring County. You will get an alert like a run on your active 911, your I'm responding, whatever you use, that says severe weather / mass incident. And it will have some notes in there about what's going on. Departments will continue to be dispatched on the fire dispatch talk group, but will not be assigned an incident talk group per the incident as usual. If you get a structure fire during a severe weather mass incident plan activation, you do not get an incident just for that fire. Okay? Departments shall use their assigned talk group, which you'll see momentarily, as needed for all incidents during the activation of this plan. They can use standard radio etiquette and patience, lots of patience, as each of these talk groups will be shared with 1 to 2 other departments in their geographical area. All right. When possible, please utilize the 7TAC or the 7 fire channels, or even the 8TAC ones, for on-scene operations to keep as much traffic on scene off of these incident talk groups, because you're going to be sharing them with other departments and using a lot of radio traffic. So, mass incident communications deal, these are what you're going to be assigned. Bonnerdale, Point Cedar, Bismarck will be on incident 1. Newton Roach and Southwest are on incident 2. Washita and Lono are incident 3. South Mowry and Glen Rose incident 4. And Rockport and Magnet Cove are on incident 5. These will be reminded the first few times we have to do this, but you will remember this is your talk group. This is your incident talk group that you're assigned to go to if you get paged out for anything during this time frame. So you'll get that notification first, and you'll get reminded when you get sent out, South Malvern, you have a tree down, blah, blah, blah. Be advised, you should be on incident 4. So these are not all going to be monitored by dispatch. You will have to go back to Hot Spring County Fire Dispatch to talk to dispatch. They do not have enough radios to monitor all of these channels at once. It is impossible. So it will not happen. All right. That is the end of the communication SOPs, SOGs. There are videos that cover radio controls. Each radio has its own video, and the pagers have their own video. The VP5000, everybody will get a printout. Every department is going to get a laminated printout with all 3 of these pictures you're fixing to see, plus the template. The 5000, you can pause it and look at that. The 6000, you can pause it and look at that. There's only one button that's different on the 6000 from the 5000. The VM5000 are the mobile. It doesn't matter if it's remote mounted or regular, it's going to have the same face and the same buttons. All right. Any questions? Feel free to contact me. That's my cell phone number, the office phone, my email. If you scan that fancy little code there, it will put all of my information as a contact in your phone. I will not answer between about 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. unless it's an emergency and you have to call back and things like that. So otherwise, feel free to send me a message, send me an email with a question, whatever. We will be going out and doing this individually on a department by department basis. And we'll go much further in depth with some hands-on training at those trainings. This is a general overview for everyone to see, just to get more information out there and start the training process as we move along to hopefully be implementing this in the near future. Thank y'all and have a wonderful day.